blessed day to you. Welcome to Dawn and VOX TV. My name is Umaru Pearl. As usual, I'm with the beautiful Benahia Nafe. Good morning, darling.
Good morning, Pearl. How are you?
I'm fine. And today we have a hot topic on the table. It regards the educational system in Nigeria. It's no longer news that the Asuu has actually gone on strike, and that's why we have the Asuu Uniben chapter. I'm correct, sir? Branch, okay, in person of Dr. Ray Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir, it's no longer news that ASU is on strike. But what is the headway of the strike? Because a lot of persons are actually expecting that there should be a positive result. Definitely dialogues should have been going on. So you can fill us in on that.
Yeah, at the moment, informal consultations and discussions are ongoing, but they are yet to produce the desired result for which the strike was embarked upon. But it's our hope that this time the federal government will be responsive to the outcry of university academic staff. And we are hoping that they will respond accordingly and do what is needed.
Okay, sir.
So maybe I can go on to enlighten us about why this strike was called in the first place.
Exactly.
In 2009,
Okay.
the federal government of Nigeria signed an agreement with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Now that agreement is hinged on four major pillars. The first is funding for the revitalization of public universities. The second is university autonomy. The third is the conditions of service. And the fourth are others that have something to do with the first three that we have mentioned.
Okay.
Now, in that agreement, it was decided, there was a clause in that agreement that every 3 years, that agreement will be up for review. And so in 2012, at the time the first 3 years was completed, ASU began the agitation to get the federal government of Nigeria to review that agreement. And you will find that it's for that reason that since 2012, on many occasions, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2017, 2019, and 2020, the union had to embark on a series of strikes just to compel the federal government of Nigeria to honor its agreement with the union. And so you find that people may have complained about incessant strikes.
Exactly.
It's not because the university teachers love to proceed on strike, but it's simply because we are doing everything possible to compel the federal government to accede to our demands, of which, of course, they entered into an agreement with us willingly. And we don't see why this cycle of deceit and dishonesty will continue to go on. Before this strike was called, there had been a series of interactions as well, numerous numbers of letters written, lobbies carried to different federal government representatives and agents and agencies, to the National Assembly. Sometime last year, even the Speaker of the House of Representatives had to wade in, and we got an assurance that the federal government would do something. But until this moment as we speak, much of what the crucial issues that we expect them to attend to, they have paid lip service to all of that and have refused to do anything. In the main, it's our conditions of service. I already told you that that agreement was signed in 2009. By 2022, the initial agreement in 2009, it was supposed to be due for review in 2012.
Okay.
So from 2009 to 2022 is 13 years. And so we have been pressing for 13 years, 13 whole years, agonizing years for us to get the federal government to review that agreement. It will mean by implication that university lecturers have been on the same salary for 13 years.
Wow.
You can take into consideration the rising cost of goods and services, the inflationary trends, the loss of the value of the naira, and then for someone to be on the same salary for 13 years is unimaginable.
Having a good standard of living will be difficult.
Yes, so you find that many lecturers live from hand to mouth. The salary that's supposed to take them home can't take them home anymore. So there are basic responsibilities that they need to meet that they cannot meet anymore. So that you find that the humanity of these lecturers has been diminished, and their dignity also has been affected, because you cannot honor also simple terms of trade that you also enter into with people. For everything you have to do, you must go and borrow some money somewhere, either to feed or to send your children to school or to take care of rents and all of those.
Other bills.
So we are saying that we cannot continue like that anymore. The basic fact is that because it is so, many lecturers who should spend time in their libraries, in their labs, conducting research, don't have the means to survive in the first place. So rather than be in the labs and in the libraries reading and researching, which is a crucial component of the job of the lecturers, many are looking for how to survive. The implication for our nation is that the manpower that we should be generating and should be churning out to engender positive growth and development in this country is being stalled. Because a serious academic exercise is hampered because of this lack of care for the welfare of staff. That also adds to the question of the lack of funding to many of these universities. So you find that students are supposed to be engaged in some different fields of different disciplines, engineering, medicine, law, but there are basic equipment that some of them need, especially in the sciences. They need reagents, they need lab equipment, but they don't have them there. So that much of what is going on now is essentially theoretical. And we are saying if we want to get out of the woods and leave this status of being an underdeveloped nation, we must do something meaningful. We must channel our resources as adequately as possible to higher education. Any nation that is serious about attaining development pays attention to their education. So you can look at most of our developed countries, you can look at Germany, you can look at the USA. Those who are the best paid in those societies are the teachers, because they know what the value is.
Yes, sir.
Recently, the Minister of Education said this recent development in national strike over Asuu is surprising to him. You see, if this, because the strike started February 14th, warning strike for 1 month, so does it mean, all this back and forth, does it mean if the federal government does not answer or meet to the demands of Asuu, the indefinite strike will be inevitable?
What the Minister of Education has said is not surprising to us. We are used to the deceit and half-truths and lying, barefaced lies that we get from our government. And I'm sure that members of the public are also well aware of this, where the government makes promises and always finds excuses to not to honor those promises. For them to say they are not aware, if you have been following the trends in the media, last year in November, that was when this strike was to be declared.
Exactly.
But the Nigeria Inter-Religious Council offered to intervene and interact with both our union and the federal government. And they came and interacted with our union and took the message back to the federal government. At the meeting they had, that was this year, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Labor and Productivity, they were all there. And they agreed, we were told that the President gave a marching order to the Minister of Education, the Minister of Labor and Productivity to go and sort out the issues with Asuu. And since then, we have been making efforts to get them to react in terms of taking positive action in relation to what the President had said. But nothing was done. And even before the strike was declared, I'm sure everyone was aware, we were all over the media, across all our branches in the country, signifying our intention and willingness to embark on a strike action if the federal government fails to accede to our demands. And so for the minister to come up to say that they are not aware is a joke. A big
Like
joke.
this action is surprising, like based on dialogues and everything. So also coming out to strike this moment is just surprising. But right now, does it mean, I was saying before earlier on rather, that if the demands are not met, everything will also go on an indefinite strike?
Well, we have declared this 1 month rolling strike. We are hoping that within the period, the federal government will get its acts together and do what is required. The agreement we are talking about took 3 years to negotiate, a whole of 3 years to negotiate, and it took that long at the instance of government from 2017 to 2021 when it was eventually concluded. And on the conclusion of that agreement, the federal government didn't do anything. So by December 2020, they had told us and they gave timelines about when all of these things will be met. All of those timelines have elapsed, they have expired, and nothing still has been done. So at the end of this 4-week rolling strike, we will reconvene and reappraise the situation and decide on the next line of action to take. For now, we will not disclose what that action will be.
Okay, I think I was actually coming to that.
Okay.
Basically, you said most of things about the educational system, like the university and a lot of equipment to actually teach the students to make a better Nigeria. So the thing I want to ask is, yes, protest is a tool for national response, because going on strike like the 1 month strike is enough for the federal government to put their acts together. Now, even if you mention something deceit, even if after the 1 month strike, nothing is be done, which other miss? Which other, you said you're not going to disclose, but at least give us hint. Because Nigerian students are the suffering end of this.
Yes, the Nigerian students are suffering, we agree. But many of them have also come to realize that our struggle is also in their interest. When you go out to many of the schools today, you find what they call TED fund projects and needs assessment projects.
Exactly.
And many of the universities actually live on that now. These are fruits of the struggle of Asuu, that you find that hostels are being renovated, lecture halls are being rehabilitated. All of those come from the struggles of Asuu. So we know now that many of our students appreciate what we are doing. And then incidentally, the students you are talking about are our children.
Exactly.
It's not the children of those ministers and government functionaries that we are talking about. They are our own children. So for us, you see, it's a case of double jeopardy for us. So we are not well paid. We take action to get the issues to be redressed, and then our children also suffer. But we are saying it is better to make the sacrifices now to guarantee the future of these children, rather than to allow the decay that is going on to continue,
the educational
so that
system.
we mortgage the future of these children. So we are saying that it is time to take some action to get these people to do what is required of them. They don't own the money. The money that are generated from all the sources of income of this nation, they are ours. It's a common patrimony. The money belongs to us. None of them came from their homes with a penny. And we are saying, use this money judiciously. And that's all we are saying. And then commit a fraction of it to education, so that this country can get out of the woods. We are continuing to depend on foreign aid and foreign initiatives, and this will not get us anywhere. So we are saying that it is time for us to put our universities at the cutting edge of research and innovation, and also find a way to propel our staff, our university staff and students to the frontiers as well of scientific and technological discoveries. And we are saying that if you don't commit enough resources to education, none of that can be achieved. People are going to the moon, people are going to space, people are discovering many things, and we are just here depending on what comes from foreign nations. Look at what happened during the COVID pandemic. We had no answer. We had no answer. Maybe if not for the grace of God, you would have seen Nigerians dropping on the streets on a daily basis, because no university, no research institution has the capacity to cope with what happened during COVID. A reasonable government will commit resources to do that kind of research and commission certain professors in those fields to undertake cutting-edge research to see if we can develop something for our sustenance and for our survival. But none of that is happening. And you see that as it is today, Asuu is the last man standing. Once Asuu goes down, university education will collapse, and then the majority of our children will not have access to affordable and quality education. They have destroyed primary school education. They have destroyed secondary school education. So everyone has moved to private schools. Today, we have over 90 private universities approved by the government, and all of them are drawing resources from the same third fund that's supposed to be funding the public universities. And so the idea is to cripple and destroy public universities so that the majority of us and our children won't have access to education. And we know what that portends for the future of this nation. So we are calling on well-meaning Nigerians, the media, students, civil society organizations. Everyone must put their hands together and prevail on this government to rescue the educational system in this country. It is the soul of this nation, and we must fight to protect the soul of this country. That is all we are saying.
Okay, sir. Speaking of calling everybody's collaboration, there was a nationwide protest organized 16th of February. So how was the outcome? Because I heard it was all over the Federation from different states.
Yes, we know that there were protests that were called essentially by students.
Yes, they were actually supporting.
Yes, called by students in solidarity with our union.
Yes, okay.
And well, we are not surprised that they took that step because we say that the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. And as I said earlier on, I know that they now appreciate the quantum of ignorance that is going on around the country, and how the federal government is taking advantage of the naivety of the generality of the public to shirk their responsibility to education. In the Nigerian constitution, it says right there that is the responsibility of the federal government to provide free education to the mass of Nigerians. And so the students have taken that bold step, and we commend them for it. And so we're asking others to join and prevail on the government and compel the government to do what is necessary to rescue education in this country.
Okay, sir.
Speaking of student travel, there is this proverb or saying that when two elephants fight, the ground suffers it. The students, yes, they feel the plight of the Asuu, like you guys have been fighting for certain things. We call this things basic amenities, like the university needs to function. Let me use Uniben as a case study. Like after the COVID last year, like 2 semesters, like meaning a session was just joined to merge into one semester. We have students going to class for 1 month, then the next month the exams, and it had this adverse effect on the scores. And in fact, students were just reading to just pass, let me just do and get out. You understand? They did not really understand what they read or what they were doing, because they just wanted to just do it, and the system really did not favor them. Yes, Asuu is on strike. They are in support of, yes, people need to get what they need to get. But after this, what's in for the students? Will they face such again?
Well, I cannot provide a categorical answer to that. To say that, yes, you mentioned the case of the University of Benin, where the university thought it wise to just proceed with the academic calendar. In some other universities, the academic sessions were cancelled, but it also had its own implication for the students, because it will mean that having paid school fees for that session, you will come back and pay another fee for that new session. But I think that the University of Benin was more considerate in saying, let us continue this session and conclude it.
And I was actually discussing this Asuu strike, although we have a 4 hike still just around the corner, just came up. So I was discussing this Asuu strike with a friend, and she said Actually, more of like a public opinion. I just wanted to know people's perception of it. And most persons were, Asuu again and their incessant strike, unattended demands. What do these people want? Sometimes they give them things, and when things go well for them, we don't hear. When it doesn't go well, oh, Asuu strike again. Now, that is people's perceptions. So how are you going to really educate these people more? Because you said well-meaning Nigerians should join you. Yeah. But what the perception of well-meaning Nigerians is, once they listen to the Minister for Labour and they listen to, oh, there's Asuu is in dialogue with the Minister for Labour, I think things are going well. You understand? So that is people's perception of this incessant strike. So is the strike going to continue? Like what my co-host said was, if it doesn't work, which means you have something else on board. But Nigerians are tired of the incessant strike.
Yes.
Is that the only result?
I think it's very simple. If we don't want strikes, we just prevail on the government to do what is right. We don't enjoy proceeding on strike. Remember that when we proceed on strike, our salaries are stopped.
Oh.
Most of the time, for 9 months, we don't get paid. We stay hungry for 9 months.
So this 1 month warning strike, there's no salary?
We are not sure that we get salary. As a matter of fact, even for January of this year, even before the strike was declared, the deductions from our union dues that the federal government, they deducted and didn't remit to us. So they're already bearing their fangs. But we are not surprised and we are ready. So we don't enjoy the strikes in any way at all. So the only thing is that, sadly, it appears to be the only thing that the federal government responds to. So between 2020 and 2022, when the last strike was called off, there has been interactions, discussions, consultations going on, but they don't yield any meaningful result.
Why?
So when they say that, for example, that when government settles them, they come back, that is not the case. That's misinformation. Because again, it's the same public that will appeal that in the interest of the students, you go back and teach while you continue negotiations with the government. And then in response to that, being a responsible union, we accede to that request and go back to work. It is not that the federal government meets our needs. I just told you that we have been on the same salary for 13 years.
Yes.
It doesn't happen anywhere.
Well, right now, we said a lot about Purdue.
And then you said something about when two elephants fight. It's actually not a case of two elephants fighting. Okay. It's a case of a monster preying on what they, in their own understanding, the lesser beings. So it's not a question of two elephants.
No, sir, the Asuu is the body and the federal government is another strong body. But the students are the tail end.
Yes, we are in league with the students, as a matter of fact. Wow. We are in league with the students because what we are fighting for will also guarantee their own future. So we suffer the consequences as well of these strikes.
And is the labor part of you with this?
Yes, the Nigeria Labour Congress, I'm aware, has officially communicated to the federal government asking them to meet the demands, to fulfill their promises and the agreement with Asuu. That is already in the public domain. And the federal government is not denying that they have abdicated their responsibility to universities. They are only saying they are asking for time. Asuu should be patient because of the prevailing economic conditions. But we are saying, if that is the truth, why haven't we seen a change as well in the cost of governance, in the cost of running government? If you find the retinue of aides, all manner of aides, special assistants, senior special assistants, all
everywhere,
over, they still maintain them. They still travel to Dubai to organize birthdays.
And some are without portfolios and still get paid.
They are still getting paid. All of the things that are happening with NDDC, and then the recent one, they said they recovered about 10 billion worth of property for someone. Those things are still happening. And
that money is enough to settle part of the demands of the Asuu significantly.
And we're also told that there's a stamp duty that the government has imposed. So for every withdrawal you make in the bank, there's a stamp duty that everyone gets.
Yes, that is true.
Now, our research has shown that the government has accumulated over 15 trillion naira from that source. But the unfortunate thing is that that money is not in the federation account. So it is not that the economy is bad or the money is not available. It is that there are holes, loopholes everywhere. There are leakages everywhere. All they need to do is to block those leakages, and they know how those leakages come. They are involved. So they just restrain the level of looting and embezzlement. There's enough money to fund our educational system.
Thank you so much. Right now we have to wrap up.
Yes, I think we should wrap up because a lot has been said. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming. It's very appalling that the Nigeria education system it's on this level. It's very appalling because the dispensers of education, if they are not well taken care of, they said when they had this 40, what would the body do? So if the dispensers of knowledge, which are these lecturers, are well paid and given necessary benefit, I think they will go the extra mile to impact enough knowledge into the student and will make a better society. And like what Doctor actually said, a lot is not, I don't think much attention, even in the national budget, is being paid to the educational system. You know, I wouldn't say other sectors are irrelevant, but education is a legacy that lives on. And it's key. But fortunately, Nigeria is dabbling with ours. You know, a game of everybody here is going abroad to study for masters. That's how we gain. You know, you see Nigerians traveling abroad, they see it as an achievement where you can still get good master's degree. We have good professors in Nigeria, but fortunately, they are not well taken care of. We don't value our own. I think that's what the case we have here.
Exactly. You said education is our legacy. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you. Like, we really need to pay key attention to our educational system. Like we always say, or they always say, we are the leaders of tomorrow.
The tomorrow is the today.
Exactly, the tomorrow is the today. Please pay keen attention. The Academic Staff Union of Universities embarked on a national strike on the 14th of February. Our fingers are crossed because we hope the government to answer the demands of the Asuu. We are still Vostv Nigeria, and please follow us across our social media platforms. On YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, we are Vostv Nigeria. Until we come your way again, bye for now.
Bye.